a pink elephant. There's a pink elephant in the room that nobody is talking about. All these conversations about, you know, what the Democrats did wrong and why they lost the election, and it's their messaging. They had a bad candidate. It's too much woke stuff, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you the pink elephant in the room. The pink elephant in the room that nobody's talking about is social media, ironically. Now, I know people talk about social media in terms of misinformation, and that's not what I'm talking about here. To understand what I'm talking about, that is a big risk to the left that's holding them back. We have to go through the motions of what it would take for them to succeed, right? What would it take for them to overcome the attack from the oligarchy that's happening right now? So I guess we start with the Democratic Party. They are the very powerful institution that is sort of baked into the system, right? They have a lot of money and power and resources. So let's look at them. How would they be able to overcome the oligarchy of which they are a part? That's the first problem right there. Um, well, this would require a revolutionary and fundamental change in the Democratic Party, which would mean radically going against the decades and decades of entrenchment into the donor class, right? You have a lot of corporate interests, right? There's a lot of, backroom deals. I help you out, you help me out between the Democrats and the very wealthy. Um, I think a lot of what I would call the establishment, these are people who benefit from the system, who get in office and stay in office for decades and live a lavish life as a result of it while playing politics for a living, the theater. These guys are too comfortable. I know you think that they're afraid right now, but there's not really much risk for them. They're not going anywhere. I mean, we're looking at a potential transition of maybe the Republican Party becoming a majority party and the Democratic Party becoming a minority party. The Republican Party has been a minority party for a while, and yet they've been they've made a lot of money. They've become very, very wealthy and very, very powerful as a minority party. So how would that be a risk for the Democrats? Are they going to lose their jobs? Are they going to not be rich anymore? They're going to not be able to insider trade anymore? I don't think so. I think they're going to be fine. It's their voters who are going to suffer. So I would say that the Democratic Party being the vehicle to success is a very weak one. Not saying they can't. They can. They can absolutely change enough to overcome what's happening right now, to some degree, at least to stop us from going backwards. But I don't have a lot of faith in that, right? Because we need radical change, and getting radical change from the Democrats, it's counterintuitive, man, in terms of what they're trying to do versus what the people need. So that leaves us with the third party movement. So the third party movement is definitely a place where you can get radical change that is necessary, that the people need. But here's the problem. Here's the pink elephant in the room that no one's talking about. Again, social media. So what do I mean by social media? Okay. So the third party movement is always going to be susceptible to grifters and parasites who will be seeking their own fame and notoriety and trying to get followers and trying to monetize things, right? And the left wing still has not gotten clever enough to identify who the genuine articles are versus who the frauds are. So you're always going to have this dynamic where, like, I would say right now, if I were a very energetic speaker, right, and I had the right charisma, I could get a lot of power from a third party movement by just saying the right phrases, right? Even if you look at my track record and it doesn't really match, right? A lot of red flags, I could completely mesmerize a large portion of the left with just me saying the right buzzwords and with the this and that and the poor people need whatever it is and then the oligarchy and this and that and America is a whatever the empire but whatever it is, right, all the trendy buzzwords, right? And I could get a lot of people on the left on fire and get grow a big following and grow this big movement. But being an unserious candidate who's not really trying to change anything, I'm just trying to grow followers and make money, and it's really just a grift. But the left is not clever enough to snuff that out and to shut me down, right? So what does that mean? That means that the credibility of the left will continue to deteriorate because you're going to continue to have grifters that will seduce the left, get them to support them. And then for the people who are not entrenched so politically, they are more easily able to see these guys are grifters and see that they are, a lot of times they'll be lunatics, and you'll see like, man, you see all the red flags. They can see the red flags, right? People are not that politically engaged can look at these people like, what? This is the left? And that allows the far right to better paint the left as just a bunch of extremist lunatics, right? Because you'll have somebody who is a grifter who will go and get a big amount of people on the left to support them, right? And then the right wing again will just paint this is the left, bunch of lunatics, right? A lot of liberals will look at the person and be like, I don't know, right? Meanwhile, the left will continue to support grifters and lunatics, right? Until finally some scandal breaks out. It's kind of like, oh, wow, oh, this guy's not the real deal, right? And then it's on to the next grifter that comes along and like, yeah, we the people, blah, 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 and America, this and that, and oligarchy, whatever, right? And the Democrats and the establishment and the deep state, whatever, right? You got another clown that shows up who a lot of other people can see the red flags and can see like, oh my goodness, okay, this guy, I don't know, something's up. Or this woman, I don't know, they look a little shady to me, right? But the activist side of the left, again, they don't seem to ever learn their lessons. I mean, I think to this date, there's still people who on the left, who have some level of credibility on the left, who are supporting people like Cornel West, right? I mean, there's so many major red flags, right? I mean, this is so obvious. I mean, these same people would look at MAGA, right, and rightfully point out their lack of critical thinking. And you look at the people they support, like, these people are overtly corrupt. Can't you see it? What is wrong with you MAGA people? But people on the left, because you are not special. You are Americans. You are a product of our failing education system. You lack critical thinking, just like MAGA does, even if they may lack it more than you, right? And the thing about it is we get this sense of I don't know what the word is, where you feel like you're more capable than you actually are. And part of that comes from, again, MAGA just being so bad at it, right? Because you look at MAGA and you're like, man, these guys are just dumb, right? And then that gives you an inflated sense of like, we're not dumb, we're the critical thinkers. No, in comparison to MAGA, you look pretty clever, right? But if we didn't have MAGA, it would be more apparent that you guys also lack a lot of critical thinking, right? You have an inability to think rationally and critically, to identify someone who's a serious person to follow and support versus someone who is a grifter or someone who is a fraud of sorts, someone who is self-interested and just looking for fame. That's why I say the pink elephant is social media, right? Social media, we have a social media addiction in this country. So there's always going to be people who are on a quest for gaining notoriety, right? So you look at Black Lives Matter, perfect example. Black Lives Matter came out, and I saw a lot of, at first, I kind of got a little caught up. I'm human. They were saying the right words, right? And I was kind of like, okay, you know, we're doing something here. Like, this is something fundamental. Like, I want fundamental radical change for the country, and it had that kind of a feeling to it. I was kind of like, okay, but I don't think it lasted very long before I started getting some vibes where I was kind of like, what is really happening here, right? And then it was a long period of time where I was silent. I was just kind of like, this doesn't look right, right? There's a lot of red flags here. And the thing about it is, the fact that I was critical and suspicious very early, and a lot of folks on the left weren't. There was a period of time where a lot of folks on the left-wing content creators making videos with Black Lives Matter stuff in their background and wearing the shirts and whatever. And I'm sitting there like, something doesn't look right, right? And then a long time goes along, and they allowed to get so far, and then we find out all the corruption and all the, you know, the corporations that adopted the movement as a way to monetize, like, yeah, we support Black Lives Matter, right? And of course you get opportunists like Candace Owens who jump in. You know, she would gladly expose a fraud on the left because that's better than just her straight up lying, right? She will lie for sure, but if there's a genuine organization that is fraudulent, is a powerful tool to use to say the left is all fraud, right? But after such a major failure, you would think that that was a day of reckoning for the left, and that they would be more critical about the movements that they follow. But I don't see it, man. I literally think that, again, if I had the right charisma, right, and I went and I started a movement and I just said the right stuff, the right buzzwords, this and that, the oligarchy and this and that, and the deep state, this and that, and the America is a imperialist nation and this and that, and free Palestine, we gotta free Palestine, no. Like, you know, if I did that, right, and this guy's on fire, whatever, people wouldn't recognize, like, if I'm saying that if I were a fraud, right, if I was looking for social media following and trying to make money, right, if I'm trying to grift, I feel like I could do that in a not very clever way. Right? Even with major red flags, I think I could seduce a lot of folks on the left, and they'd be like, man, this is the guy, right? And then after I get exposed finally, some story comes out and whatever, and it's like, oh, this guy he wasn't really about that life. They would fall for the next guy. It's like there's no learning. And ironically, this is where the left behaves not unlike the party that they support. The same people on the left will criticize the Democrats that don't learn from their mistakes, which is true, right? But you, the base, part of their base, right? The progressives, right? The socialists, the Democrat socialists, you guys, just like the Democratic Party, don't learn from your mistakes. You keep backing these frauds, right? Because it's so easy to seduce with just language. Somebody getting on there like you know, I know some of my subscribers actually like this guy, Dyson, that professor from some school, the one who pushed out this stupid idea that so-called black people can't be racist, right? And the whole core of his argument was he would basically try to change what racist meant, right? He was arguing about institutional racism when people were not talking about institutional racism, and he wasn't saying institutional racism. He was basically describing institutional racism and applying it to just racism, right? So since brown-skinned people don't have a lot of power to be institutionally racist, they can't be racist. But again, being a racist and racism doesn't require an institutional level. Like that's a particular type of racism, right? So just a nonsensical argument. But he goes online and he just and the black people and it's the same kind of stuff that Colonel West does. This kind of like rhyming thing and it's like it's entertainment value stuff. And people get, yeah, brother, yeah, right? Oh, we're gonna do this, da-da-da. And then they start backing the person. And then to people that are not caught up like that, right? Obviously, the right wingers will point out any like legitimate, like, oh, look, he said this, or they'll make it up, right? But then a lot of liberals who are not, politically, they're not that politically active, right? So they're not, you can't seduce them, right? They're gonna be more like, if they're looking at you, they're gonna be more closer to be able to like, okay, what is this? What's happening here? Right? You're rhyming and whatever. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be as effective, right? So let's introduce into the scenario someone who's an actual real leader that the left needs for success, to really fight and push for the progressive things that the left wants, right? Let's introduce that person. So a real leader. How can that person compete with the ever growing list of grifters that are always going to be there trying to capitalize on people's frustrations, right? Think about so you have a genuine guy who's really serious about it, right? So you're limited to truth, right? You're limited to, reality, right? Where you have other people that are competing with you that just say whatever, yeah, this and that, whatever gets them clicks, right? And they'll put on a good show and get people all excited. And then what happens is, this is what also will happen, right? The left movements will eat themselves alive because the grifter will attack the real person, right, as a fraud, and this person's fake, and that person actually was friends with the Democrats or whatever. They're not a real leftist, right? And because they are so sexy to a lot of folks on the left, they'll have a large amount of people that will agree with them and repeat that, like, oh, this person, again. So if a real person pops up, the grifters will successfully be able to smear that real person as he's not real, and oh, we found some connection somewhere, or whatever, or they just want small change, or whatever it is. Somehow, no true Scotsman on them, right? They're not the real deal, right? And how can a real leader in today's day and age go back in time, right? Whoever your leaders are that you liked, that did a lot of stuff that you like, if you're a left-wing person, you're just Malcolm X or, Martin Luther King, whoever it is, whoever you think were great leaders in the past, do you think they really would have survived in today's world? Right? So the people that move the needle the most in a positive direction, from the perspective of someone who's on the left, right? Those people today would be destroyed. A Jimmy Dore type person would destroy a Malcolm X, would destroy a Martin Luther King, right? And there's so many lists of names that would just go after little content creators trying to grow their following or whatever. They would destroy the very people. So a lot of the stuff that we benefit from today, of the rights that we've gained, we wouldn't have gotten them most likely if we had social media back in the day. And it's a weird thing because social media is like a double-edged sword. Social media is a way that you can actually grow a true movement and get a lot of followers and actually grow something that can actually push, for something positive, right? But on the same token, it can also be used, right, for capitalistic reasons, right? Someone can use social media to buy mansions while pretending like, hey, Black Lives Matter. We want to go against racism and this and that and the police, whatever, right? What is the solution? I guess Kyle Kulinski might have it right because he talks about a celebrity leader on the left, controversial celebrity leader on the left. Somebody like that, the right person like that, already has a following, right? Because again, contrast this to somebody else, a real genuine leader trying to rise right now, right? Two issues. Again, all the grifters smearing and attacking you and painting you as something that you're not, right? Also, your stuff not being as sexy as the grifters, right? Because if you're really focused on truth and whatever, and you're bound by truth and integrity, that's not as sexy as someone who's just like, say whatever to get clicks, right? Say whatever to get clicks, whether it's true or it's not true, or this people like when I say this, I'm gonna say that, right? Like a Donald Trump type thing, right? How do you genuinely compete with that as a genuine person, on the left, as a new leader? One way is, again, if you are the celebrity person, so you already have the following, you already have the audience, right? Because again, the new person is going to have trouble gaining the following because, again, what you're competing with, right? It's kind of like, I talked about this before, it's kind of like I'm going to get in street fighting and I'm going to be an above board person, nothing below the belt. I'm going to fight as a professional, but then I'm fighting with street fighters that'll do anything. They'll hit me anywhere, below the belt, whatever, sand in the face. Even if I'm a really good fighter, it's going to be tough, right? Because if everyone's just doing whatever and I'm following rules, I'm at a disadvantage, right? So same thing. If you're a true leader and you have integrity, you have character, so you're bound by reality, you're bound by truth, right? Meanwhile, you're competing with people who are unbound, just say whatever, right? It's all about clicks and or pandering or whatever. It's going to be tough unless you already started with a big movement, and not a movement, but following, right? So you already have the audience. You already have the trust of that audience, right? And then you start sort of, getting them woke, right? In terms of waking them up to certain things. Maybe you're like a comedian or whatever, so you don't talk about politics. So now you start introducing politics into your stuff that you're talking about to your base, right? Just to educate them, let them know what's really going on, right? So now you have this large group of people that are on board, they understand what the issues are, and then you introduce yourself as, I'm going to be the one to fight for these things, right? You automatically have a base of support, you're following. And then because you have this big base of support, it's a viral thing, right? You can easily grow that base of support because other people now who are not fans of you see this large movement of people that are talking some stuff that's like, wow, this is some good stuff. I want to be a part of this. And then that grows and grows and grows. This person is able to compete better in the entertainment economy or entertainment politics we have in this country. So, they're going to be out there saying stuff that's controversial, that's going to get people talking and retweets and whatever it is. Like, oh my goodness, did you hear what this guy said? He said da 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 da, or whatever it is, whatever the stuff that's really viral, a lot of high viral potential. That's the kind of person that could really grow a movement. So I think Kyle might actually have a good point in that strategy, because everybody else, man, good luck to you, man. Good luck to you. And I forgot, there's another thing I was talking about. There's another issue. So there's, as far as a new leader, even if you start with integrity as a human being, it's going to be tempting for you to go to the dark side. Meaning you start growing a big following and you start getting all these retweets and people like really admiring you. And then you get caught up in that, right? Because we're humans, right? Get caught up in that. Oh, everybody's saying about how you're so great and whatever. You go and you speak at an event and it's standing ovation, and all of a sudden you're not so focused on the movement and you're more focused on yourself, right? Maybe you start this money starts coming in and you're like, whoa, I can make money doing this. And then your lifestyle increases. You're like, oh wow. And then you get distracted. Next thing you know, someone who started with a genuine thing to help people ends up focused on themselves, right? And ends up being the next disappointment to the left. So that's another issue. So it's not only having someone of integrity and character rising up as a leader on the left, but that person also needs to have the strength of character to not be seduced. And it's kind of like, I don't want to make it biblical, but the what is it, the snake, what is it, the apple, right? To not bite from the apple, right? You're living in this world that's, no pain, no suffering, right? Garden of Eden, right? Great movement, and it's growing, and you got something going. And then you got that apple that's like, hey man, look at all this money that's coming in. What can I do to make even more money? Right? Now you're focused on something else. Next thing you know, you've lost yourself. You detach from your original mission, and slowly but surely, your followers start to realize that you've betrayed them. So I think getting successful and growing a big enough movement, I think in today's economy, I keep saying economy, world, whatever you want to call it, requires that, celebrity, that entertainment value. But I think people on the left need to be aware of this weakness and vulnerability, because between now, let's say someone like that shows up in the future, between now and then, something that you guys can do that is helpful is get a little bit more clever in identifying who the real leaders are from the grifters and the frauds. Because every time a grifter shows up and successfully seduces you guys, and you guys push some grifter, right, you lose credibility. So when a real leader shows up, it's going to be much harder to get people to listen to you, right? Every time the left pushes some lunatic grifter, somebody who is just, they're not the one, right? And then it falls apart. It's not a good look. It's just not a good look. Just like how a big part of the reason why Democrats lost, in my view, is credibility, right? Over-promising, under-delivering. Over-promising, under-delivering. Every time I do that, they take a credibility hit. So now when Kamala comes in and says the right things, right, talking about economy's good, but we need much more. People are suffering, right? People are struggling to pay their rents. She's saying the good stuff. She's talking some good programs, but she's saying it from behind a party that has lost credibility, right? So not enough people trusted in what she was talking about. The left has the same issue. Every time you back some fraudulent leader, right, and it collapses, you lose credibility. Keep your credibility so that when you need it, it's there. When there's a good leader that shows up in the future, hopefully sometime soon, keep your credibility so that when you reach out to people and you say, this is the one, people don't just shake their heads and say, yeah, you were pushing this other lunatic, and you were pushing that fraud, and you were pushing that person, and now I'm supposed to listen to you now, but he's the one, he's going to do whatever, right? Whatever happened to such and such? Whatever happened to this other person, right? So I think you need to be a little bit more hesitant to jump on board. You don't want to go overboard to where a good leader shows up and then you're so skeptical that, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be skeptical enough to recognize the frauds, but not so skeptical that you don't even recognize someone who's a genuine article. But that's something the left needs to work on, and like, no one's talking about it. I don't hear anyone talking about this, right? No one's talking about this whole issue of, lack of leadership on the left, and just the opportunists that are always gonna keep popping up. There's gonna be new third parties that are looking to be the next Democratic Party, right? They're gonna show up as like, we're outside the system and whatever, and then you guys fall for it and you vote for them and they get power, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, you guys are starting to sound just like the Democratic Party was. You had a lot of energy when you didn't have power. Now you have power. We're willing for you to do stuff. What's good, right? So you can have parties that are going to be fake and fraudulent, run by fake and fraudulent people. You're going to have individuals who are going to be fake and fraudulent, right? And you got to recognize this and be able to identify who's real and who's not real. But again, it's oh my goodness, it's a balance, man. I can see the left just going over, and that happens right now, right? Where the purity testing, like you're on board with all this stuff, but this one thing, like you're not a real progressive. Oh my goodness, so they're already kind of doing that. But then, ironically, the same people who will be so suspicious, the kind of people they end up supporting, it's that are so obviously fraudulent. It's just kind of like, this is so, like, you were talking all the smack about this person, right? Who admittedly there were some issues there, but there was so much good, and then this is the person you're backing. This guy, this woman, really? I'll leave you with this last point. Marianne Williamson recently posted, I believe. Hopefully, it's not a fake post that I'm putting out there, but how something like she's excited that was it RFK is going to be in the government, doing whatever health stuff he's doing. I'm not going to say anything else on that one. This is the Baby Channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Comments. Diddy Party. Ye says, side note, you kind of look like Thierry Henry. I got to look that person up. I don't know who that is. Something was held for review. I don't know what that is. Let's see what it is. Potential inappropriate messages. Okay. View message. Let's see what it is. What it do. Okay, so this is not working apparently. Diggy, you sound like this. Diggy, so what's the big deal? It's making fun of me. Okay. Another moderator just handled it. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, it's all good, man. I actually believe in actual free speech, right? I'm not worried about people insulting me or making fun of me or calling me names. You can say whatever the hell you want to say, right? Does not matter to me at all. I'm from an old school generation where, ironically, men were men, unlike the men, so-called men, who like to say men should be men. Like the men who like to talk about masculinity don't seem to be very masculine, right? But I'm from a generation where we don't get emotional, right? You don't get all bothered about things that don't matter. Someone making fun of you or calling you a name has no consequence whatsoever. Does not affect my life whatsoever. So I'm not gonna put a lot of energy towards like, oh, how dare you? Like, who the hell cares, man? You think I'm ugly? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm brainwashed? You think I'm a simpleton? Okay. Like, and now you pull out a gun on me, or you try to steal my money, then we got a problem. Because it's not that I don't have emotions. I have emotions, right? You will see a lot of emotions if you pull a gun on me, or you try to steal money from me, or you try to actually physically hurt my family, right? Then you'll see the emotions. But until then, right? That's how it used to be. Nowadays, everybody's a lot of unfortunately, a lot of the male role models, you got these like I guess the bro people who, their thing about masculinity just like being loud and obnoxious. Like that's what being a man is. Like, fuck you, like, okay, like these same people you could easily trigger. You could easily say something to them and get their face all red and like, say that to my face. They're like ready to fight you as a grown ass adult. So weak are they that they can't even handle some critique, right? But yet They want to be the ones to talk about, this is, we're real men, unlike those what you call it, what's the word, fruit kicks or whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling. All right, guys. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that. I do sound like that guy said I sounded. Oh.